On today's episode, your World's Toughest Mudder 2018 preview with your TMHQ race directors, Nolan Kombol and Eli Hutchison. No hype. Nolan and Eli lay it out for World's Toughest 2018.
This is the World's Toughest Podcast. Welcome to the World's Toughest Podcast, where we talk about any obstacle course race you'd like, as long as that's World's Toughest Mudder. Each week we talk to members of the WTM community and share stories of success and failure in the single greatest event in OCR. My name is Will Hicks, and this is the World's Toughest Podcast.
Welcome back to World's Toughest Podcast. My name is Will Hicks. Thank you for listening. You are listening to the number one rated obstacle course racing podcast in the world because of listeners like you. If you haven't left a review yet, I hope today's show is the one that gets you to finally do it. On today's show, we are going to talk with the race directors of World's Toughest Mudder 2018. Nolan Kombol and Eli Hutchison are longtime residents of Tough Mudder headquarters. Not residents, I guess, but you know what I mean. They would tell you they are part of a team, and they are, but they head up that team that develops and builds World's Toughest Mudder every year. We are very excited to welcome them to the show today. Before we start, you can email me at willhicks@gmail.com. You can follow me on Twitter at @TheWillHicks. Feel free to follow me there. I've never blocked anyone. I never will block anyone unless you post something I find slightly annoying or something I disagree with. But other than that, I've never blocked anyone, and I never will block anyone. To follow the show on Instagram and Facebook, you should search for the World's Toughest Podcast hashtag. I have a crack team handling social media for me, and they are great. Search that hashtag and follow those guys for news and announcements and new episode alerts from the podcast. They just started, but they are already awesome. Scarlett Wolf is one of the social media team. She does this thing where she plays audio clips from the new episode on her Instagram stories. That's Kim DeVos, Scarlett Wolf. I gave the wrong handle for her last episode. You can find her at Scarlett_Wolf_TM. I don't know how she does those audio clips in her stories, but it's super cool. Check it out. You can also be a part of the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts, and I will read it on a future episode. Let's talk some news. This week on Friday, October 19th, will be something cool to watch. At 2 p.m. Mountain Time, Kolbl and Robert Killian will be racing one-on-one up the Manitou Incline in Colorado. If you're listening to this episode after October 19th, go to Ascent Protein's Facebook page and catch the replay. The incline is a well-known trail near Colorado Springs that goes almost straight up. It's 2,744 steps at a 45-degree angle, over 2,000 feet of elevation gain in less than 1 mile of trail. It's intense. At 2 o'clock, Rhea and Robert will race to the top and then do 50 burpees at the top. Rhea and Robert are two of the elite of the elites in obstacle course racing today, both generally and in endurance OCR specifically, the 8 hours and longer. Rhea is the women's reigning champion of World's Toughest Mudder. In her win last year, she tied the women's record of 90 miles set by Amelia Boone. Robert Killian is the only man besides Ryan Atkins to run 100 miles at World's Toughest Mudder more than once. They are both great athletes, and they're going to race each other, battle of the sexes style, straight up a mountain, and then do 50 burpees. I love everything about this. not everything. I don't particularly care for the burpees, but everything else. Rhea and Robert are both sponsored by Ascent Protein. Ascent Protein is, bankrolling this, is paying for it. So Robert and Rhea are getting taken care of by their sponsor. So it's good for Robert and Rhea. The race will be fun to watch. So as fans of OCR and fans of these athletes, it's good for you and me. And I'm doing an entire segment talking about Ascent Protein on the #1 podcast in OCR. So it's good for Ascent Protein also. When I heard about this, I thought, hey, you know what? Actually, my protein, I have a little plastic tin in my pantry. My protein supply is getting low. I should buy some protein. So I did. And I would not have thought of that probably if it was not for this event this weekend. I've said this before. If we want OCR to continue to grow and prosper, we need to support the companies that support OCR. This is a perfect example of that. Ascent is supporting 2 of the best in the sport. So you should go buy some Ascent Protein right now. I don't get paid a cent by Ascent Protein. But they are forking out their own dollars, supporting Rhea and Robert, and you and me as fans of the sport get to watch a cool race on Friday. So, you know what? I've even got a code for you. Rhea 10 will save you 10% on your order. REA 10 at ascentprotein.com. I like the lemon sorbet. Rhea likes the cappuccino. I don't know what Robert's flavor of choice is. Go buy some Ascent Protein. Last episode, we debuted a brand new segment called You're So Smart.
Hey, baby, you're so smart. Look at what you're doing now.
We asked who are the 7 men who have run 100 miles and at World's Toughest, and who are the 7 men to win a Toughest Mudder. Well done to 2 of our listeners, Stuart Clark and Ian K., who correctly answered all 14 names. I gave you 4 of them, really 8. The 4 men who have run both 100 miles and won a Toughest Mudder. I told you last episode is Chris Mendoza, Ryan Atkins, John Albin, and Trevor Psychos. The other 3 men to run 100 miles at World's Toughest are Robert Killian, Chad Trammell, and Austin Azar. The other 3 men to win a Toughest Mudder are Tristan Steed, Sean Stevens-Whale, and Lachlan Danzy. Well done again to Stuart Clark and Ian K. Stuart and Ian, you're so smart.
Hey, baby, you're so smart. Look at what you're doing now.
Here's another World's Toughest Mudder trivia question for you. In the 7 years of World's Toughest Mudder, Amelia Boone has won the women's race 3 times. Who are the women that won the other 4 years? Send me your answer to World's Toughest Podcast at gmail.com with So Smart in the subject line. And if you are right, I will shout you out next episode.
Hey, baby, you're so smart. Look at what you're doing now.
World's Toughest Mudder in Atlanta is going to be muddy. I will be running in a pair of Merrell Agility Peak Flex trail running shoes. Merrell has been working with World's Toughest Podcast this year, giving away free shoes to listeners of our show. If you would like to be entered to win a free pair of Merrell Agility Peak Flex or Merrell All Out Crush 2.0s, just text the word TOUGH to the number 22828. That's TOUGH to the number 22828. It will subscribe you to our email list and enter you to win the free shoes. We got another email from a previous winter, PJ McPanty. PJ writes, "Hey, Will, thanks for the free shoes. I never win anything. And if it's not going to be the lottery, new kicks from you and Merrell are the next best thing. I'll be sure to let you know how they work for me. Sadly, it won't be WTM this year, but I plan to go full on next year. I did my very first Tough Mudder last year, Toughest Philly, and it was amazing. Can't wait to hear from you and the rest of the WTM family as we near closer to the big day and night, and then day again. PJ." You're welcome, PJ. Congratulations again. This week's winner of a free pair of Merrell trail running shoes is Jeff Caputo. Congratulations, Jeff. Look for an email from Merrell and I within the next couple of days. You can win too, totally free. Text the word tough to the number 22828. Good luck. Before we talk with our guests, let's read some iTunes reviews.
5 stars.
5 stars.
5 stars.
5 stars.
5 stars.
5 stars.
5 stars. 5 stars.
Our first review comes from Canada. What's up, Canada? From Canada, Ugly Dave writes. Ugly Dave. Come on, Dave. I doubt you're that ugly. From Canada, Handsome to his mom, Dave writes. 5 stars. As someone who is an OCR nut and has just entered the world of podcasting with our Mud Brothers podcast, I am so impressed with Will's attention to detail and professionalism. Interviews are informative and entertaining. Nothing gets me more focused to run a course than listening on my often long drives to an event. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Dave. I see you working, though. Other people have tried this, too. Dave left a review for the show because he just started an OCR podcast called Mud Brothers. He thinks if he leaves a review where he casually mentions his new show, Mud Brothers, that he'll get some free publicity for Mud Brothers. Sorry, Dave. I'm not going to mention Mud Brothers. Better luck next time. I appreciate the kind words, though, Dave. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to be a part of the show like Dave, you can leave a review on Apple Podcasts also. Just open the purple podcast app on your iPhone or iPad and search for World's Toughest Podcast. Click our logo and then scroll down to click Write a Review. If you are on Android, you can leave a review for the show on Amazon.com. Just go to Amazon and search for World's Toughest Podcast. Click our logo and then scroll down to click Write a Customer Review. And I will read it on a future episode. I am all caught up on reviews. I am looking for more reviews. I'm looking for a review from Australia. I am looking for a review from the UK. And I'm looking for 2 reviews from the US. You and your buddy. You and your wife. You and your boyfriend. Surprise me. Our guests today are 2 of the most influential people on this show. Without them, without Eli and Nolan, World's Toughest Mudder would not be the race and the experience and the mecca of OCR that it is. Without an awesome World's Toughest Mudder, there would have never been a World's Toughest podcast. Nolan Kombol is the Director of Product Development for Tough Mudder and one of the race directors for World's Toughest Mudder 2018. Eli Hutchison works with Nolan in product development and will also be working as one of the race directors for World's Toughest Mudder 2018. I am not exaggerating, and I am not hyping it up at all to say this interview has amazing information about World's Toughest Mudder 2018. I don't want to spoil anything. Stop what you're doing and listen to the entire interview right now. If you're driving your car and you're getting into your garage, just leave the car running and finish the interview. If you're about to finish your run right now, you need to go out for another couple of miles and finish the interview. Listen to the whole thing. I am so glad this podcast is audio only because there were multiple times during the interview I was sitting behind my microphone with a stupid, giant grin on my face. It's time to talk with Nolan Kombol and Eli Hutchison. Let's go to the phones. Nolan Kombol, Eli Hutchison, thanks for joining the show.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Will. Always exciting.
This is the first year World's Toughest Mudder will be in Atlanta after 4 years in Las Vegas. What can people expect from the course in Atlanta?
Kind of big picture, looking at the Atlanta venue and kind of going back to the decision to move from Las Vegas to Atlanta was really about finding the best venue that we have on the calendar, which we've known that Atlanta's been top for a long time. It's always been up there with Vegas as being one of the better terrain type venues for a course like World's Toughest. We've already been at Las Vegas for 4 years. Went through a lot of different iterations of the course and wanted to change it up and change up the experience, and Atlanta was the perfect option for it. I think what's going to set it apart is the fact that, it has less overall elevation gain, although it is pretty hilly. You're going to have to battle a whole different set of elements. So instead of, the overnight cold and dust storms to deal with in Las Vegas, there's going to be a lot of mud. There's going to be a lot of prep to do with your gear and with your kit before the event. On average, it's going to run a little bit colder, so I think people are going to have to prepare in a different way. But I think what we wanted to do with the course this year is really load it up with some pretty fantastic obstacles, both just for World's Toughest and a lot of the new obstacles that we're planning for next year, and play with kind of the course routing formats to throw people off in a unique way.
Eli, what are you most excited about for Atlanta?
I think Worlds is just such a unique event, and Vegas was really amazing. One of my favorite parts about that venue was being able to, be in the pit or the race center, and you could look out, and it's kind of like the moon, so you could just see everything. You could see, you could pinpoint where anyone was just from a standing location in the pit, just because the visibility was so good. Not a single tree or shrub on site. And that was a really unique part about that venue. But I'm excited for this year in that it's going to be, it is a much more kind of nuanced venue. It's much more intimate terrain. You're going to be in the trees. You're going to be, in the woods, rolling hills. So the footing is different. The terrain is different. The visibility is different. The overall feel, the vibe at night is much different. So, you can never predict exactly what's going to happen, but I think it's just going to be a really interesting change up, just in terms of like the terrain and the experience of being on that venue, which is, a very beautiful venue and a great place to spend some time. So I'm really excited to kind of show people what we've designed there.
Nolan, you mentioned the World's Toughest exclusive obstacles. The iconic obstacle from Vegas was the cliff. Atlanta does not have the Atlanta venue doesn't have a natural cliff. How do you replace the cliff?
Well, I think what you do is take out that word natural and turn it into something more man-made. So I think that's probably the key element. I think the venue in Las Vegas taught us a lot about big jumps and mental grit. I think looking at Atlanta, we're going to try to emulate a similar type of experience and build off it in a cooler way. So even though it doesn't have the natural drops, we're pretty confident in what we've created that will be a very similar or better experience than that.
Just imagine how you see people crossing the country with like a full house moving from, California to New Jersey with on the highway. So just picture that. There's no reason you can't bring the cliff to a new place.
Atlanta has a pretty big lake, doesn't it?
It has
tons of big lakes.
About how many obstacles can the runners expect per lap?
We generally try to keep, our target number is always 25. Once all obstacles are up and running, for World's Toughest Mudder, having 25 obstacles on course. And, so people will definitely see that as like a base level. Once all obstacles are up and running after the first few hours, you can expect 25. And I think this year's menu is really well-rounded. We learn every year certain things about, the level of difficulty we can have out there. So like last year, Kong Infinity, great obstacle, really tough to do once you're further into the race. So we're going to have, the 2019 menu is a really balanced menu. And so people are going to be kind of getting hit from all angles as far as the obstacle front. And then, we can get into it a little more if you want, but we're doing a couple things this year that we haven't really tried before, but we're excited about, where we're going to be offering, kind of a few different ways to get through the course at different points. So you might actually run, 3 or 4 laps throughout the event that have a different set of obstacles in a certain section and a different course route. So we're playing with those options, and by the time we get to Worlds, there will be some really interesting things that people can try to do and manage their race in a way they haven't been able to before.
Well, yeah, if you want to, we could talk about it. In the past, the only real option for, other than penalty loops, has been sometimes at the very end of the race, you could choose to take the cliff jump, or you could, take the long bypass around and add, maybe another mile to your course. What are some tricks you have planned this year?
So we're looking at, electricity is always a very divisive kind of feature to have on course at World's Toughest, and we've over the years moved away from having it as a mandatory, obstacle on course, just because you have people that can't even attempt it due to medical reasons. So, but we do love it, and for those out there who are seeking an electrical adventure out on course, we wanted to add basically a section of course where if you want to take it, it's going to hurt, and it's going to have some electricity, a few electricity kind of variable obstacles on it. But in doing so, you'll be missing some hard upper body, agility challenging obstacles. So some options like that where you'll actually have to choose between two things and say, I'm ready to get shocked right now. I'm going to take that route, or I'm going to do the upper body challenging route and then take the possibility of failing, having longer penalty. So that's, one example of what we're doing in terms of like course variability. So if people want to try something different on a different lap and then choose between the two later on, that'll be the goal. Give people some more choice and ability to play to their strengths.
That is,
I think I was going to say, to what Eli is talking about with that course option, what we really want to do is kind of give people the option, but also the challenge to look at those two and say, this is a real difficult choice on this lap. They may do it a couple times and really struggle with the options that are out there. They're not going to be easy options. I think sometimes for some people, it'll feel like the lesser of two evils, which is exactly where we want this thing to sit. And have people kind of really question it and debate when they're back in the pit or before they go on the lap, like which one makes more sense for them, because it may make more sense depending on the temperature or what time of day it is or how far you are into your race. So it'll be really interesting to see that kind of conversation.
The obstacle there sounds like the fork in the road. Like, okay, we're here. What are we doing? Like, do I want to get shocked? That's where the mental obstacle is at that fork in the road.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Different World's Toughest courses have had different themes. 2015 was wet. 2016 was fast. 2017 was hard. What would you describe, or Nolan, how would you describe the theme of 2018?
I would say there's going to be a lot more mental running that goes on because of the different course options and different obstacle options. For the course this year, I think people are going to have to be more thoughtful in the race approach. So it's not just going to be like grit and get through it, whether it's, more hills or there's more water obstacles. I think the theme this year will definitely be mud. I think that's going to play a big part in both your performance on each lap, but the full 24 hours. How are you going to deal with that? Did you bring the right gear? I think there's going to be a lot of thought that needs to go into both how you plan your lap, but also how you plan your gear to deal with the mud. But it'll definitely be different. I'd say I wish I had a really kind of like sexy word for that, but I think for the most part it's going to be kind of a mind game the entire event.
One of the highlights of World's Toughest is the World's Toughest Mudder exclusive obstacles. How many exclusive obstacles can the people expect?
So, there'll definitely be the big signature feature, kind of the cliff replacement that everyone can expect. And then we're looking at, I believe it's 8 to 9 new 2019 features. And that is, so, and then that doesn't even include some other things that are out there that are just World's Toughest. So off the back of my head right now, call it 10 to 12 things that are going to be World's Toughest exclusive, and some of those will be 2019 obstacles and some won't.
Yeah, it's tough to tell, and I think a lot of people don't know the way that we approach kind of the new obstacles for 2019, because we have a set of new obstacles that we want to carry for regular Tough Mudder weekend events into 2019. But what we want to do with World's Toughest and what we've done in the past is we bring out a lot of innovation test obstacles out there. We want to plant them on the World's Toughest course, and then we kind of use World's Toughest as a second beta test for those obstacles to see which ones will move into 2019 and which ones might make more sense to leave as a World's Toughest unique obstacle. Maybe because it's too difficult for a regular Tough Mudder weekend course, or operationally may not make sense for that. So we take a look at that. But where we're at right now is we have all those on the World's Toughest course. We know those certain set are going to move into 2019. It's just going to be a balance of which ones are going to be only for World's Toughest this year and which ones are going to carry on.
Let's talk about the competition side of the race. Eli, you're the race director. Last year, the women's winner, Rhea Kombl, tied the women's record with 90 miles. Is this a year a woman breaks 100 miles?
I would love to see it. I think it's totally possible. I think with the talent and the level of competition we have out there, there's no reason it can't happen. I think Rhea could absolutely do it. I think there's also there's some other females out there that could do it. I think Ali Tai has it in her. We've got a Devin Yanko coming out, who's a Leadville 100 ultramarathon winner in 2017, and has never really done this type of long distance obstacle race before. So very interested to see if we've got a dark horse coming in to maybe do it. But we have set the challenge this year, and it's kind of a new program going forward. Is the $10,000 bonus for breaking the historical record. So if Rhea or any of these other ladies can hit 95 miles, then they double their first place winnings. And I can't imagine that if they're getting 95, they won't go for that extra 100. But I really do think it's all going to come down to the conditions on the ground on the day, and how fast people are able to be on this terrain versus the really hard packed desert terrain. So it's something that it's hard to predict, and we won't really know until we're into the event. But I'd love to see it. It'd be amazing to have a female join the 100 Club.
Ryan Atkins has said he's going into the team category again this year. What do you think about the men's competition?
Yeah, so that's been really interesting. Ryan and Lindsay, have expressed interest in the past to run together, and they're, I think, going in this year for the team relay category, and Ryan's gonna make his return to the team. So what that does is just open up. It kind of blows wide open the arena for the men to step up, and I think it's actually going to be. It's always. I love having Ryan in the individual category because he is the powerhouse historically, but I think what we're going to see this year is kind of circa back to when we had the Austin and Trevor race that was super tight all the way up until 9,500 miles a few years back. So I think there's a roster of 5, 6, 7 of the individual men who are going to be going neck and neck this year. So I think he's doing that for his own reasons, and I think it'll be exciting. And then I think it opens up a lot of opportunity in the men's side, and should be a really interesting race.
You guys have shown some willingness to kind of experiment with the team category in the past. Have you guys ever thought about the 2-person co-ed team category?
We have gone back and forth on it a few times. Obviously, we're still trying to iron out exactly what the team category is going to look like in future World's Toughest Mudders, but we haven't finalized yet whether we're going to go for a full co-ed category. I think we want to see how it goes with some higher profile athletes, which would be really great, and see what the general interest is. But it's definitely top on our mind. I don't know if you have other views on that, Eli.
No, I think there's, we're obviously not doing that for World's Toughest this year, but it's a consideration, and most of these decisions are based on feedback from the community and the people who run the event. So it's something we'll definitely be looking at for 2019 as always. And if anyone listening does have strong views on that, then it's always worth letting us know in surveys and feedback or on site, so we can really make that decision.
Yeah, if anybody's listening now, too, feel free to let us know on site what you think, but I'd be very interested. Ryan and Lindsay are a pretty unique co-ed couple in the industry in that they're a couple, but also very, very good at what they do on course. But certainly think that there's other potential out there.
What else should people know about World's Toughest Mudder 2018, Nolan?
I think from my end, I think people should know it's going to be a unique experience. I'm really excited about the change up to the Atlanta venue. I think people should be ready for a different World's Toughest Mudder kind of overall event vibe. I think it's still going to have all the great kind of pit and community aspect that World's Toughest always has and kind of the energy that exists there. But I think the overall course experience is going to be very different. And I think we've got a lot of great new obstacles out there. I think it's probably more obstacles than we put on a World's Toughest Mudder course ever in the past, especially new ones that we want to build into next year. Those we've kind of kept under obstacle innovation, beta testing, lock and key until the final week leading up into World's Toughest. I think we'll get a few more information, a bit more information out there for people. But I think, yeah, the challenge is going to be different. The course experience is going to be different. The way you approach the course is going to be super challenging, but very cool and very unique for most people. So I think all the great aspects are there. What makes World's Toughest Mudder so much fun? Like, really excited to see a lot of people that it takes me a year to see again, but also excited to see how they take on this new course.
Eli, any last thoughts on World's Toughest Mudder 2018?
Yeah, two things. One, I think we're trying some new and innovative things that we've looked at in the past, and either new ideas or bringing back. So things like the Golden Carabiner. Don't be surprised if you see that coming back and hear some announcements about that prior to the event. And then things like the alternate course routes. So yeah, I hope people can appreciate what we're trying to do, and we'll pull it off as seamlessly as possible. And the goal being, change up from the running the same course 10 times, 20 times, giving people some alternate options and keeping it fresh and exciting. And then the other thing is everyone always freaks out about the pit. How far away from the course am I going to be? This new venue has really gotten us. We were constrained with space in Vegas and had to have, pit spaces that were pretty far from the course. With this new design, we've been working on updating that pit and giving it a more, equalizing it a bit more, as we haven't been able to do in Vegas. So no one should expect, it'll be less of a, the detriment to your race if you show up late to enter your pit. No one will be more than a few hundred feet away from the course route. So, there will be more info coming on that soon, but hopefully, no one freaks out about showing up late or anything like that, because the pit will be much more condensed with the course running right through it this year. So that'll be really exciting. It'll add some energy to the overall vibe down there.
A return to the course, kind of splitting the pit area?
Yeah, so in New Jersey back in the day, because we had it in the drag strip, if anyone was there, the course went right through the middle, very long and thin, narrow pit. It won't be quite the same as that, but similar idea. So the course will run right through the pit, race center right in the middle, tents kind of on all sides. So the overall quality and equality of those pit spaces is much closer. So your elite contenders will be right next to it, but if you show up 2 hours later and come in, you might be 150 feet away from the course route. So it really shouldn't affect people's race as much as it has in Vegas with that pit design.
I usually ask my guests if they have anyone they want to shout out or thank for their support. Is there anybody at TMHQ that most of us don't know that you guys want to shout out?
Oh man. Yeah, there's a guy on our team who has been, basically the course designer, the primary course designer for a lot of the toughest events in the last 2 years and World's Toughest this year. It's Trevor Bobb. He's a big football-looking guy, so if you see him on site, give him a shout-out or tell him what you think about the course, because he's definitely one of the driving forces behind the design.
I'd add in there too, there's a guy who works pretty closely on the obstacle design side, so alongside Trevor, but feeding in on how we're going to change the obstacles for World's Toughest or any of the new ones out there. His name's Aaron Katz. He doesn't get a lot of attention outside the TMHQ world, but is definitely a World's Toughest Mudder veteran. A couple of years back, ran a pretty big distance out there, but also is responsible for a lot of the designs and making sure that what we see in our minds makes its way down to the ground. So give a shout out to Aaron and probably the rest of the team. There's a big crew from Tough Mudder. It's our kind of capstone event at the end of the year. So everybody gets really excited, and a lot of different teams who work in kind of different regions around the U.S. All kind of get together, and it's our gathering point too at the end of the year to kind of recap how Tough Mudder went this year in 2018, but also a really great event for everybody to get involved with. So it's a big team from our side. So probably a shout out to all of the TMHQ team that'll be down there.
Nolan Kombol, Eli Hutchison, thanks much. Special thanks to Nolan Kombol and Eli Hutchison for appearing in this episode. Well done, Nolan and Eli. Come on back anytime. Well, what do you think? What are you most hyped for that you just learned about? Is it choosing your own route through the course? Is it lots more electricity to deal with this year? How about the golden carabiner being back? You can earn a golden carabiner on a certain obstacle, and then you can cash that carabiner in. You turn it in at another obstacle to skip it. What about the course running through the pit area again? They were pretty cagey about the cliff replacement. What do you think that is all about? Let me know what you think of this episode in a review on Apple Podcasts. I will talk with you soon. Go spend time with someone you love.